No, because, like, a lot of most serial killers are, like, white men, and a lot of times they're, like, attractive white men, and that's how they get their victims.
Yeah,
I was like,
you're not
Rob
wrong.
could easily be a serial killer.
Rob is Ted Bundy.
Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of The Single Standard, where dating shows meet grown woman realness. Dating shows might get the spotlight, but we set the standard. I'm Autumn, dog mom and engineer in Chicago, and I absolutely love reality TV, especially weeks like this week.
Yes, it's been a week. I am Maya, Atlanta-based journalist who is a dog and cat mom, as my cat just spikes at me just now, with this claw. And I am a big reality TV fan as well. And yes, this week was a lot.
So this week was like the Olympics of reality TV. We had the final episode 11 and then the reunion for the Traitors, and then episodes 10 and 11 with Love is Blind, and the final episode of Love Island All Stars, episode 39, and then the finale in episode 40. We're going to go through all of them, but we'll get started with the VanCarthen moment of the week. Our VanCarthen moment of the week is special to us because it's really the impetus for us having a podcast. Our favorite couple, the VanCarthens. Getting started, Maya, what's your VanCarthen moment of the week?
So my Van Carthen moment, as I'm thinking, it might also be my soft life moment, but my Van Carthen moment this week is going to see Nick again Friday in Atlanta, his DJ set. And it was just a good time, had fun. Um, and then I'll save the second part of why it was so much fun for myself.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, my Van Carthen moment of the week had to do with Alandria. She was wearing this vampy look at the Blue Marine fashion show in Milan, Fashion Week. Here's why. She always looks gorgeous, but I feel like she manages to like up the ante for inspiration for us. So she had, Blixies are popular, but she had like a pixie hairdo. Alandria with short hair is my favorite Alandria. And not only that, she gave us like what I'm calling my Act 3 inspiration with like just the vampy alternative type look, facial jewelry, ear jewelry, septum. She ate down, but not, I mean, as she normally does. But now I'm like, let me take some notes. Yeah, that was my Dan Carthen moment of the week, getting more inspo from Melandria. And she was really serving fashion. Yeah. She's living her dream, and I
She
love to see
is.
it.
I love
Yeah,
that for
yeah.
her.
So starting out with Love is Blind, episode 10, the fantasy of Love is Blind has expired. We're in the start of the wedding week, and we're finding out that even if love is blind, love isn't enough for a lot of the couples. The chemistry in the pods has kind of faded away, and the couples are getting stress tested, and we're starting to see cracks appear. So first, we leave off from last episode with conversation with Chris and Bree, and Chris is stirring the pot with Bree, feeding into he's not coming from nowhere. He's feeding into what he's seen from her and her proclivity for dominant alpha men, because that's how he's approached her, and also finances. He talks about the 4 seasons. He talks about having a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan and how they're going to mass assets together. What did you think about this foolish little leprechaun?
Well, I thought he was a foolish little leprechaun. One, but also like he's just out of control because
Yeah,
like he was obviously incredibly drunk. I think with editing, I think that because where Brie landed
yeah,
was her shutting it down. So I think the way it was edited was to make us think that she was playing into it, maybe a little bit more than she really was.
right,
Because even when the simple question of like, do you find me attractive? She was just like, I'm not answering that. She was just like,
right.
I'm with Connor. So I liked that about her because I was a little annoyed at that it looked like she was feeding into it last week.
Right.
And then he walks away from her talking about how they could be fuck buddies and all this other stuff, then walks over to Connor and daps him up, which is like high level ridiculousness.
Yeah.
And then he grabs Jess, who he just called things off with, a couple days earlier, and
Right.
is talking to her in a way like kind of acting like he wanted to rekindle almost,
Yeah.
or at least seeing if the door was open there.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's wrong with him, but I hope as he's watched himself, or maybe as he just thought about himself in the past, however long ago they filmed this, that he has sought some therapy.
Yeah. So we then see Priyanka and Ashley and Alex, and it's a tale of who said, she said what, he said, huh? Like Alex's lies start to catch up with him, and what he said about the ex in Austin isn't adding up. And finally, Ashley starts feeling the tension and seeing that, this man is not being honest.
Finally, right?
Right.
She's just like, your story keeps changing, and um, I asked you for the timeline, and this is the same timeline you told her, and you told Priyanka that you lived in Austin, but you're telling me that you just went to visit for a weekend, and none of it makes sense. And then he pulls the classic like gaslighter okey doke. And it was like, I just feel like you guys are ganging up on me because she was I guess talking about like when he went to Austin, he hooked up with his ex. Right. This is when this happened. He was like, "Do you want me to tell? I'll just tell you every time I jerk off from now on." And I was like,
Whoa.
"Bro,
Right.
relax, relax."
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, he was just, and I remember, I think you wrote last week that you wrote down that Alex is a lying liar that lies.
He
And
is.
I wrote down Alex lies like he breathes. He's so gross. But then later, once they were back home, I said, not him apologizing like a black mama by offering food. You hungry? You want nuggets?
Right. You want a Sprite? You need that 10 piece?
And a big laugh.
I still love you.
Exactly.
Right. But for Ashley, now that we see that she sees that his lies aren't adding up, is honesty not a deal breaker?
Maybe not.
Or dishonesty, rather?
Maybe not.
Yeah. Not for everybody.
I, I'm like, what is? Because like,
Yeah.
you ain't got no job. You don't live nowhere. Lies like he breathes.
The
And
sex, he doesn't wanna
he
sleep with
doesn't want
her.
to sleep with her all anymore after getting back from Cabo. And then,
He's not
that's the other
attracted to
thing.
her.
Well, yeah, she's not attracted to her, but also he flew from Austin to the show.
Right. He's lied to the producers. He don't even live in Ohio. I don't
Right!
know what he's doing there.
I'm
People
just
are
like,
like,
"Do you
"That's
think I
not his
told you?"
real mom. She's an actress."
I did see that. I did see people say that online. I'm
Yeah.
just like, "What is happening?" So it's like, he was like, "Well, I told you I came from Cleveland because it was just easier and I wouldn't have to answer questions I didn't want to answer." And I was like, "Oh, so you basically told her you lied because you wanted to lie." That's literally why everyone lies. They don't want to have to deal with consequences.
Not like he didn't have hours and hours to tell her his full life story.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, I'm side-eyeing Ashley in the same way that I'm side-eyeing Brittany. So,
Mm.
right. We'll get to that. So in episode 11, we're finally at the moment of truth. It's wedding week. The girls are trying on their wedding dresses, and Bree calls off the engagement with Connor 2 days before the wedding. Do you think Chris placed some doubts in her mind? Like, where is this coming from?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Because Chris
Oh,
talked about her need for a dominant man, someone who takes charge, and like how um I don't think these were the words he used, but he might as well have, like, Connor's very beta, you can control him.
Right.
And so that is some of what we saw her saying during the breakup. But then all of a sudden she started saying like, "You met me when I'm my worst version of myself," which is the first time we heard that.
Right.
Maybe it's something that's been said, but just didn't make it to air.
Yeah.
Um, but uh, to go from like there's no one else I would have wanted to do this with, and you know, shutting down Chris to saying like, "Oh, you met me at my worst, and so you shouldn't love me because I'm at my worst right now." And it's just like it gave cop out. Like I don't know if she knows what she wanted to do there or why she was doing it, but I think she just wanted out and was using that as an excuse if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a cop out. If I'm being honest, I think it's about finances,
Mm.
which to me is kind of interesting because she knew who Connor was before all of this. They could have discussed finances. She had the opportunity to let him know what was important to her and also assess, was he the type of guy that she wanted to be with? Her referring to Connor as not being like alpha enough for her, and then her talking about like his house, which I thought was, I don't know, it was kind of to me like a little bit disrespectful, just really judging him. I don't think Bree plans on marrying him in the future. I don't she's
And he definitely asked that question, and
yeah, and I feel a little bit bad for Connor, and then I'm like, "Ew, look at what Bree's made me do." Have sympathy for this man who
poor
said that she
man.
was too much and wouldn't shut up. Right.
So, and something else, I think that Connor is just the least worst of the men.
Yeah.
So I would even go so far to say he's the second least worst. I think Jordan is the least worst of the men. Um,
You said
but
who?
Jordan, Vic, I always forget about Vic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? It's like they're not
So
even
it's
on the show.
like Vic, Jordan, Connor. And because early when they were in Cabo, I was clocking some like controlling type insecurities and stuff. And I had actually forgotten about that until um I was like, dang, like he's such a sweetheart. Then I was like, wait,
Yeah,
no, I had issues with him before.
with Connor.
Hmm.
Yeah, you were like, do you feel like he has a potential to maybe be abusive?" Is that
Yeah.
Connor? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Just the insecurities,
Exactly.
and unfortunately, all the insecurities that he felt, they're kinda accurate when it comes to Brie.
And then also for her to ask, like, are you just a lesson to show me how to love myself, or are you the love of my life? Like, if someone asked me that question, I would throw
Automatic
myself
no.
out the window.
Right, automatic no. I'm a lesson for you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a lesson. Good luck.
So Brittany again is embarrassed by Devontae. She hasn't learned her lesson. She's throwing herself at Devontae. At one point, she literally says, "I understand that you can't tell me that I'm pretty." And then, like, gives him the opportunity to tell her that she's pretty. He says nothing because, as we said before, he obviously doesn't think that she's pretty. Um, and I feel like I'm gonna say it, Brittany is a pick me. She's giving all the indications and factors of a pick me to the point where she bought her wedding dress before this, knowing that her wedding dress would have been paid for. Right. And she just said, Devontae, he'll do. He doesn't like me. I don't care. you know, I like him enough for the both of us.
Right. And I'm like, also, do you? You know? So I have been the Devante in this type of relationship before,
yeah.
where someone that I was with very much valued words of affirmation. I am not someone who gives a lot of compliments, just in general. Like, if I give it to you, you've earned it. Just like I don't need you to tell me that I'm gorgeous 400 times a day. I'm not going to do that to you either. Cause like, part of me is like, I'm here. that is all of the reassurance you need because I don't have to be. I could be anywhere I want to be. So it's like, I get that, but also like watching Britney just
Right.
back off of it and settle made me sad, because obviously these issues led to my last breakup, right? But also, I feel like if she was like, you know what, that's just not who you are, and that's fine, you know, I guess that would have been a little sad. Like, and as I've gotten distance from the breakup, just we weren't a good match. So they're just not a good match. I mean, take away the whole like him wanting to be with a white woman thing, like just taking all of that away, just like the love
Right.
language, like that can be a huge issue. Like if you're someone who needs to be told that you're pretty often, being with someone who doesn't give words of affirmation, that is going to be.
Yeah. She also early on said like physical touch was very important to her.
Mhm.
So she's not getting the physical touch, she's not getting the words of affirmation, but she's still there. And that's why I'm calling her a pick me.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I'm not mad at it.
Now, Devontae pulling up the prenup right before the wedding. Was this a last ditch effort for him to get Brittany to break up with him?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Definitely. You and I have talked about how I am a big believer that everyone should have a prenup, right? I don't even have anything except for like debt, right? But but even if I were to get married tomorrow, I would still want a prenup. Like what I came in with is what I leave with if this ends, and, whatever terms we come to. But so I'm a big believer in prenups. So it's like, why is this coming up days before the wedding? And then I even wrote down, I'm surprised he's just now bringing up a prenup. This is another attempt to lay groundwork for a breakup.
It is. Again, they had hours on hours on hours of just conversation about what was important, with the marriage, with the wedding, and this just now comes up. Yeah.
He's
It's
definitely
just
setting it up for her to say.
yeah.
And, like,
Um,
what is with these men not having the balls to, like, just break up with their person, right? First Chris, and then now Devontae. Like, just be like, "Bro, this ain't working."
so I think that this is TV reflecting reality. I think that, like, I'm making a generalization that a lot of men don't like to argue, a lot of men don't like to accept blame and responsibility, and they I know a lot of men who don't even break up. They just kinda, like, fade off in the distance, or they just try and do things to get the woman to break up with them. So I see that we also see that on Love Is Blind. Yeah. I don't really know, now that I'm thinking about it, any serious relationship that I've ever been where a guy ended it with me officially, ever. So Amber freaks out when Jordan mentions that he's a bit apprehensive about the whole child thing and her daughter. Was that warranted, or do you think she was just triggered by all the bad relationships that she had in her past?
I'm gonna say it's a combination.
Okay.
At first, I said, I think Amber overreacted. It's normal for someone who doesn't have kids to be nervous about becoming a father figure or a
Right.
mother figure. Like, that makes sense. But then when she is ready to talk to him, uh, she says to him, like, "How long have you been thinking this? We've always had such great communication. Why is the first time I'm hearing it when you're telling
Right.
me it and not?" So in that aspect, was there alcohol involved? Did she maybe throw a little bit of a tantrum by like going home early and, you know, hiding under the covers and not responding when he's like, "Hey, can we talk?" Like that might be a bit much, but I do think she was right to be upset.
Yeah, I think it's a communication thing, just as she mentioned, to say, "I thought that I knew you. I thought that, we were on the same page about everything, and why can't you express something to me?" It's not th I don't think it was the fact that he was freaking out, it was the fact that she had no idea that he felt that way. So it was warranted, I think. Not maybe not to the degree, Just because I can understand why it might have been hard for him to communicate because he didn't want her to take it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually think that this is something that will make them stronger, and I think that if you're gonna marry a person, you need to see them in different scenarios. So it'd be very scary for me to marry somebody and I never had an argument with them because you need to know how they argue. So I think in the end, this will be something that makes them stronger, and I still see them getting to the altar and saying yes. Yeah. So Emma and Mike make it to the altar. Uh, Mike says that he doesn't know what he's gonna say, that it really, if Emma says yes, then he'll say yes because if she says yes, then that's an indication that she knows, the expectations of the marriage that they're gonna have kids. And so I thought it was a little bit crazy. He put in his vows, he mentioned her having children in the wedding vows. That was a bit crazy to me. Um, but yeah, Emma said yes, and then we left off on the cliffhanger of, is Mike going to say yes or no? What do you think?
So a couple things about that.
Okay.
When he's like doing his vows or whatever, and he's talking about like you need to know today that like I don't want to rush you, but also you need to know today if if you can see yourself having kids, see us having a family. And she had even talked about having a family and having kids
Yeah,
at some point, like when like talking about the future. He was like, "Oh wait, so you're thinking?" He's like, "Yeah." She had never said she ruled it out, right? She always just said she didn't know. Um, and so like for him to go from like he needs to know that they'll eventually have kids if he's gonna say yes. And then her vows are, "You make me feel safe and comfortable." If my fiance, almost to be husband, said to me in front of the
every
country and all of our loved ones,
the
"I
world,
know you gonna be a
globally.
baby maker," he would not be someone who makes me comfortable.
Yeah,
And then for him, for I don't know if again editing is a lot. Um, I wasn't sure that Emma was gonna say yes. Part
yeah,
of me, I think, wanted her to say no. Um,
right,
Mike, he had seemed so certain that he wanted to be with her, and it was just he didn't know whether or not she wanted to be with him.
yeah.
But now that she said yes, the cliffhanger they leave us on, it makes it seem like he's not certain anymore. So I'm just like, is this editing, or
Right.
are they setting us up for him to say no?
Personally, I don't think they should have even gotten engaged if they weren't on the same page,
That's
you
fair.
know? They could have nipped this in the bud early on. "Yes, I can see myself having kids with you." "No." Uh, I don't know. And I don't know to me is a no.
Right, right.
Yeah. Anything else with Love Is Blind that you wanted to hit on?
I think the only other thing that kind of goes back to Ashley and Alex. In the preview, it says she flat out called him a liar, and I really hope that that's Ashley talking about Alex, like at the altar.
Right. That was crazy. So the Traitors was intense this week, as it is almost every week. We start the Traitors in at breakfast. We've got Eric and Mara and Rob coming in, and you th- they have a trio where you kind of feel like they they've almost won because it's the three of them at the end, and they have a strong plan. Mara, I have the quote from her. I don't wanna think too much. You know? I'm like, "Girl, this is a game of strategy. What do you mean you're at the end and you don't wanna think too much? What are you doing?" Yeah. So Tara and Johnny have a strategy. Tara is going to work with Mara to let her know, "Here's what we do. It's Rob and Eric." And even when she says Rob, Mara's like, "I just don't think so. There's no
Just
way."
can't see it,
Right. And it made me think, "Oh, you're on the wrong show. This is some Love Is Blind type mess."
girl.
Mara, I think, is secretly in love. Well, I mean, no secret. definitely in love with, Rob for that experience. So then it made me say, Eric sees this manipulation that's happening with Mara. He sees how calculated Rob is. And I'm like, does Eric not think that, you know, with the relationship that he's had with Mara since day one, that he would manipulate her and not him? Right. So for the mission, they go to a lake where there's bags of money in the lake, and they have to answer questions pertaining to like the history of the show and who did what, who said what. And if they match it up correctly, then they get money. They end up getting $20,000 for the prize. And Mara and Rob go in a helicopter. Rob strategically going on the helicopter with her. Did you notice how he's like sitting across from her? He puts his arm around her. He's like, it's just me and you. It's me, you, and Eric. This is what we're gonna do. Like, he's manipulating her the whole time.
And
Uh,
I think I saw somewhere, like in interviews, where it was like, oh, they wanted to be together, where he was like, I just needed to be with her so that neither Johnny or Tara was in her ear
Yeah, he didn't care about spending time with her
at all.
or no, it's all about the money, all about the Benjamins. Yeah. So they get the opportunity to double their money if one of the players jumps into the lake and brings back I don't know, Bowie that they threw in there in time, before the buzzer. And Rob's like, I'll do it. And I'm like, is this like some Mission Impossible stuff? So we just get to see athletic Rob. Yeah. I'm like, did they think about that last minute? And we're like, yeah, it's worth a 20,000, you know. Because if anybody else had have been posed with that mission, I don't think that they would have made it. Rob jumps into the water and at the do you think the timing was right on that? I was like, "Is this editing for time so it goes down to the last second,
I think so.
for the drama?"
It has
So
to be
that
because almost everything they finish, like everything where they get updates on time, it's always at the last minute. And I'm just like, I think someone called it like Traitors time
Yeah.
or Traitors mission time or something like that. I'm like, they just let them do however long it takes. And then they're like, hurry up. It's almost over. Like, I don't buy that. But I will say, like, I love how Mora's like, well, I can't swim, so I guess you're the one
Right.
jumping. And then she was like, but you look like you really want to do it. He was like, I really do want to do it. And I'm like, and I wrote down, I was like, jumping off the helicopter is cool as fuck. Like, I would do some shit like that too because I am crazy. Um, maybe not into like cold water, but
Right.
I could see myself like jumping off of a helicopter. I mean, I've been skydiving, so I would jump off a helicopter in the water.
Yeah, that I don't know if I would do that. I'm a decent swimmer, but it just seemed like a high jump,
Yeah.
and I would be nervous about going deep in. Yeah, I don't think I would have said yes to that.
Before the jump, Mora says, I could really go for a hot bath. And he said, I can get you something hot. And Mora says, oh, Rob, what is that?
Right. Manipulation.
For sure. And the end of the
So,
challenge was so dramatic with all of the
yeah,
like
the
fireworks.
fireworks, I loved that.
I was
I
like,
was
oh, okay, this is dramatic. Like
I
three,
loved
two, one, him like making it at the last second and then
1
fireworks.
second.
Oh,
No time to spare. I loved the drama of all of this whole episode. So we get to the round table again for banishment, and Kara and Johnny have talked to Mara, and they're like, "Look, Mara, it's Rob and it's Eric." So this is what I don't get. The first person to get banished is Johnny, right? Mara and Rob have a pinky promise that they will vote against Eric. So Mara knows in her heart of hearts that Eric is the traitor. Why is she voting Tara off?
because I looked at her being like the only people that I know are faithfuls are me and Rob. And
Okay,
we voted Johnny off, but I feel like there's two traitors left. And
right.
so it's going to be um, Eric and Tara. That was kind of how I took that.
Okay. I took it as I'm not going to tink and I'm just gonna listen to
Also,
whatever Rob has said. Yeah,
also
because think to the last episode where Mark was like, "There's no way." Tara crying over all of this. I don't think that was a performance of her lying and being a great liar. Like, I thought the group
oh, and
consensus.
then also
Yeah,
to go back to that, the person who said that to Rob was Mark, and
yeah,
that is who they ended up killing. And his murder was very dramatic as well. Like, I'm
yeah.
claustrophobic. If you're not putting me in a coffin, that's one. Like, I'll jump off a helicopter, but you're not putting me in a coffin. And then they like light this ring of fire
Yes.
around him. I'm just like,
They
"Okay,
slammed the coffin door shut.
oh, this poor guy."
Yeah.
I would have been freaking out.
I loved the drama. I was like, "This is intense." Mark is dead. He has been
Right.
murdered. Yeah. The theatrics, I loved it. Yeah, so the second banishment is Tara, and we get down to Eric, Rob, and Mara.
I do want to
And
back
sure, sure.
to a couple of things.
Okay.
Earlier in the episode, I was like, I think Rob is really trying to take Eric to the end, and then we see um, him starting to like lay groundwork to banish Eric, and then I was like, oh, JK. So we'll get to how that makes me feel about it later. But for Rob to be talking to Mora and say, unless something crazy happens, we're gonna win, like holding her face, and I'm just like,
Right. Jumping with her, using that closeness,
right,
touching her.
pinky promising,
Right.
and then Tara used that same phrase when she was talking to either Johnny or to Camera. She was like, unless something crazy happens. And I was like, oh, maybe something crazy's going to happen.
No, it was intense. I didn't know how it was gonna go.
Yeah,
So do
very.
you think it seemed like Mara was telling Rob we have to vote out Eric. Do you think if Mara didn't want to vote out Eric, then he would have stayed in?
That's
Yeah.
a tough one. Part of me feels like the discussion from the reunion did make it seem as though he never planned on sharing that money with anybody.
No. I don't think that he did because he talked about like using that money for his family and his future family and for it to be like that amount of money to spread around, he wanted it all.
And he didn't want to, was it? I was like, I'm not giving someone I just met 3 weeks ago
Right.
$100,000. And
You're
I was
right.
like,
Yeah.
but, but yeah, there was just, I've seen a lot of metaphors for the final scenes of Traitors for different things, patriarchy, politics,
Right.
and it was a lot. And also it was hilarious that his formal outfit, like everybody else, was decked out, and he had on overalls for the final round table.
Right. He can wear whatever. He doesn't have to show up and prove like his wit or his reason for being at the table. It's like I own this table. And then even I thought with Mara especially, I'm like, how many women are voting the way that, their husbands tell them to vote?
Right. Right.
How many women are seeing things happen that aren't right, but because their husband is thinking a certain way, they just
Stay
don't
quiet.
have to think at all.
Don't have to
Right,
think. Exactly.
right.
But I'm also like laughing at the emotional roller coaster that Rob took me through, right? Because I was like, I think he's going to take Eric all the way. Oh no, he's turning on him. And then I was like, no, he's not going to flip on Eric. And then he flipped on Eric, and I wrote down, he ain't shit. Why did he have me fooled again? Again. Why does he keep fooling me?
And imagine how Eric felt. Yeah. So
Hilarious.
as we got to the end of this episode, first with like Eric being astonished that Rob turned on him, but finally the final banishment.
Not
Well, I
even the
guess Eric was the final banishment, but
yeah.
like the reveal of, you know, are there two faithfuls or something else at that table?
Mm-hmm.
And so Mara, I think Alan knew what he was doing. Mara, you know, tell us, are you a traitor or faithful? And she's like, I'm a faithful. I've always been a faithful. And then they go to Rob and ask him, is he a traitor or a faithful? And you can't tell me like how embarrassing for Mara, like, the just shock and embarrassment, like her saying, "Oh, I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb." I hate to say it. Yeah.
I listen. So I two things about that. One, I know last week I uh predicted that he would they would end up putting Mara in the coffin instead of Mark. So I was like, he doesn't like confrontation. He doesn't have it in him to say to her face, I'm a traitor. Turns out I was wrong.
Right.
It, I mean, I really think he could have still won had he anyway.
Yeah.
But
He really wanted to secure it.
yeah. And then it's like, now to be fair, sometimes I like to enjoy substances while watching the these shows, but I just burst out laughing when he told her. I was laughing so hard, and I was like, but now I'm looking and I'm like, I feel bad for Mara, for Eric too. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, but like the more that I've thought about it, I don't. She had
Yeah.
literally every single opportunity up until the very end
She did.
to pay attention, but she chose not to think.
All right. We're gonna have this as a joke for a while.
A while.
Yeah. I had, kinda like the opposite reaction. I could tell how hurt she was,
Yeah.
and I teared up. I almost started crying because I I knew how betrayed she felt, and she was like, "This is why I can't trust anybody." And I'm like, "Mara, you're on a game show. Why were you trusting this man?" And it kinda it made me feel bad for Mara, not in and I think beyond Traitors because you can tell, like, Mara's a genuine person, she's very beautiful, she comes off as, like, kind and caring, and I think she's the type of person that gets taken advantage of a lot of the time because she's so, like, open and genuine, and she's expecting everybody to be like her, and her experiences, yeah, she gets lied to a lot of the time, and cheated on, and betrayed. So
I
I'm
mean,
like, "Girl,
and
you
also,
didn't have the same feelings? It didn't feel familiar?"
right. I mean,
Right.
and then it could also be like, maybe she's just not that bright.
No. Right. And I hate that
I
for
hate
her.
that for her. Yeah.
Yeah. I need for her hopefully this is like a life-changing moment where she's going to do more thinking in the future.
Mhm.
So, we get to the reunion. I'm glad that they didn't let any additional time pass, and release the reunion
I
show.
agree.
I loved it that, Andy Cohen was the host because Andy Cohen asked the hard question. So Andy says, "This is one of the most iconic seasons, and Rob is one of the best traders of all time." Uh, what'd you think about that? Since you have the history of traders.
So I have some history. I have not seen season 1.
Okay.
And spoiler alert, 'cause it's already been spoiled for me and it's 4 years ago, but, the traitor wins and the traitor turns on the fellow traitor at the last minute. And so her name was Sari, and I think she was a Survivor person or maybe a Big Brother person. She was a gamer.
Okay.
Um, and Black woman. And
Alright.
I know.
I love that.
I do think that Rob played a good game. I also think that these were the dumbest faithful that they
They
could have
were.
assembled.
And to add on to that, I would say their biases. played a huge role. How Rob looked contributed to him winning. If Rob had been in a different body, it
A
would have
s-
been a different story.
straight
I don't
white
think he would have
cis
won.
man.
Right. So did Rob play a good game? Yes. And his privilege as a straight white cis man helped him win. He might not have won if he was in a different body.
Agree that. I mean,
Yeah.
we talked about in the first episodes, they were just like, this person's so strategic.
Right.
She's a black woman, so she must be a traitor. Like, there's no way that anyone but a straight white cis man is going to make it to the end in the way that he made it. Like, at no point did anyone really question, well, not at no point, not until like the last possible minute did Tara and Johnny finally. But up until then, no one got anywhere near.
It kind of gave me like serial killer vibes, you know? Like,
Okay.
no, because like a lot of, most serial killers are like white men. And a lot of times they're like attractive white men, and that's how they get their victims.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like,
And I
Rob
agree.
could easily be a serial killer. Yeah, because people just trust him and give him the benefit of doubt, even when it's kind of obvious that he's lying to them. Yeah. So, I love that Andy was our host. Actually, going back,
Mm,
Andy's debut outfit at the beginning, the overalls, I
yes.
was like, Andy, I didn't know Andy had guns.
Yeah.
Did you
And
know Andy? I
I
was like, Andy has a body. I had
even
no
Rob was
idea.
like, "Oh, his arms look." However he said it, but like his arms look good because he did
Yeah.
this shirtless overall look.
Yeah, Andy pulled it off. I
He
loved
did.
that Andy did that.
He
Yeah,
did.
it was cute. Um, yeah. So we wanted to see the Candace Rob matchup. Did it meet your expectations?
So when I was under substances, yes. However, I had to
Yeah.
rewatch it because I was very far gone by the time the reunion rolled around. And looking at the notes that I wrote from
Okay.
when I was not sober to the ones I wrote this time. So I think I think Candace has gone as hard as she has because she thought that she had information on Rob that he told Colton that Candace is a traitor
Yeah.
and therefore told on himself and was like, I'm a traitor. Candace is a traitor. We gonna get her out. I'm gonna recruit you. And like that, I think
She took it personal.
that is
Yeah.
how Candace thought it was gonna go down. Or that's how Candace thought it went down.
Right.
Um, and so if I thought that, like they had been like colluding Colton,
Right.
um, I would be pissed too. But I don't know that that's true. I don't know that that's true. So I think that's why it didn't land as heavy because I think she thought that was going to be like the smoking gun. And both Rob was like, well, why would I? There are rules. Like we're on camera all the time. How would he have told him? And why would he was like, why would I tell him that I was?
Right.
Um, so it didn't land the way I think she wanted it to. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So what about the matchup between Colton and Lisa? Did it meet your expectations? Because we've been waiting for the two of them to be in the same room.
So again, yes and no, right? I think that Lisa did. So I would say I think that Lisa held up her end of the bargain in bringing the drama. But what I didn't necessarily like was Peacock allowing Colton a space to make that period in time about him. So this is, the alleged stalking that he did of his ex-girlfriend, Cassie. Um, and instead of saying, I'm sorry, that happened, and instead of the Traitors producers saying, we're sorry for like casting him, they let him talk about how it was like the darkest time of his life. I'm like, I feel like it might have been a darker time for Cassie. And also, I know people have like given him some grace because he was closeted, but I too am a member of the Alphabet Mafia, and we can't. That's like using that man with Tourette's in the UK last week for screaming out the N word at Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, like saying it's because he has Tourette's. I'm like, but Tourette's doesn't make you say the words that
Racist things.
right.
If you
So
don't say those words, you just don't say those words. There's some words that would never come out of my mouth.
right.
Right.
How did you feel about the Lisa Colton showdown?
Um, I'm glad that Lisa confronted him, and I think she did it in a way that wasn't, um it was just enough. You know, she didn't make it a huge thing, but she did bring it up and say, "Mm, you know, that was an interesting word choice."
But she did like to his credit, it was like
Yeah,
uh she did say you did say that you wanted to slit my throat when you were in the turret. And in my head, I was like, but she's never actually done that.
right. There's no history of her slitting people's throat.
Exactly.
There is history of him,
Yes.
yeah, having stalker activities. Yeah. Before we wrap up, was there anything that you wanted to cover?
Okay. I am going to take accountability.
Okay.
I am going to go back on my hate hatred of Rob.
So you've landed at hating him
I've
versus loving him.
I've landed at being neutral again,
Okay. You
which
don't
is
hate
how I
him,
was before the show.
you don't love him.
I don't love him. I don't hate him. I think that a lot of the things that he did during the season that seemed to us to be male centered were actually gameplay. I think
Yeah,
the only reason that he got as close with Colton as he did was because he knew as someone who had heat on him already, he
right,
knew that there would be a point in time where he could sacrifice him either um as being banished or being murdered by Candace. Like, because that was like the first question Andy asked him, like, what do you think was the moment that like changed everything for you? And and he was like, you know, basically letting Candace murder because it made him look like the most faithful. Because why would he kill his bestie? And it's like that makes sense. And then the stuff that he was saying to Eric about like, oh, you know, it was crazy up here, talking about in the turret, and that was why he got rid of them. But he was going to take Eric all the way, but he was never going to take Eric all the way. So think I think that yeah, I've come around on him. I think he played a really good game. I also think the faithful were stupid. Um, and I like that Natalie even said Candace gave us two opportunities to like start to look at him, and we didn't. And I think Mark was trying to like explain it away, and then Natalie was like, no, we were not savvy enough to pick it up, and that is on us. Um, so yeah, so I think that's kind of where I landed on my feelings of Rob. So Rob, I no longer hate you, nor do I want to make babies.
it's a thin line.
Then like,
You're right on it.
mhm.
Passions at the reunion. Did you have a favorite?
You know, normally every week Maura is my favorite. I
Yeah,
don't think she was my favorite this week. Or I don't, and I'm like, I don't know that I can think of anyone's that I liked more. I think I just
okay,
didn't like it.
okay.
No, I think my favorite was
Oh, yes, her
the
high
choke.
neck
Yeah.
halter, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
think
was
my favorite
beautiful.
was Kristen. Yeah.
Okay. Here's my opinion, like my top opinions on it. Mara was my favorite. I saw her look, Christian Siriano, before I saw the episode, and I was like, "Look at her baby bangs. Look at those sharp cheekbones, like her chin, everything, even the way her makeup was done, it was just like line, and I've never seen her look better. She looked amazing. Second honorable mention is Tiffany.
Tiffany looked good.
Right.
Yeah,
I was like, I didn't know Tiffany could look like that. She looked amazing.
she did.
She just beautiful. Yeah. Worst dress, no surprise. Natalie!
No, Rappaport, come on.
Oh, true, true. Yeah,
I guess we
Rappaport.
could say Natalie because you could tell that she was trying.
Was she?
I I mean, not
Maybe, for
not
her.
in the way that Rappaport showed up.
True. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, no, Rappaport by far.
yeah. Yeah, Rappaport was just wearing his uniform, which is always kinda underdressed 90s. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Portia's, like, plaid print, multiple sparkly,
Yeah,
and her boobs were just, like, up to here. She looked amazing.
yeah,
Right.
it
Yeah. So Mara won best dress for the season. Do you think that was a sympathy award?
I don't, honestly,
Okay.
because even
Yeah.
before, you know, she finally lost, we had been pretty much picking her every week. I would say she on the season, she was my favorite dress for sure, easily.
Yeah. Lisa, I felt like she was a close second.
Lisa delivered, Candace
Yeah.
delivered.
And here's why I say Lisa was a close second. Lisa is in her 60s,
Yeah,
outdressing everybody.
yeah,
Yeah.
she looks great.
Right. So that was the Traitors. Love Island. Okay. The ex-Islanders come back and they vote for the least compatible couple. Charlie came in guns blazing for Scott. What did you think about the energy that Charlie had pretty much for everybody on the show?
He was Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he probably had a lot of time to like stew and be mad about all of it. You would think that he would be more angry at Millie for sending him home.
Right.
Like, and I guess he instead of him saying Millie sent me home because I was waffling between her and Jess,
Mhm.
he said Scott told Millie that I was waffling between her and Jess, and that's why I was sent home. So like Scott's the reason, and like okay, yep. So Millie sent him home, yes, and before that, Scott told Millie, yes. But also before that, Charlie was waffling between the two. So like,
Right.
had you not done the behavior, you would have
Yeah.
been called out. And you would have been sent home.
And he wasn't giving during the whole season, he wasn't really giving her assurance. He was like, "Oh, it's early days," you know? So, I don't know, I came out of this, like, not liking Charlie. I didn't really like him on the season, and how he showed up, in the last episode kinda cemented that. So Scott gets accused of not being invested in Leanne and just having gameplay. Same thing with Lucinda. She's accused of, acting and pretending like she's a dumb person and using the baby voice, and, she's here in her 4th game show, as is
I think
Scott.
it's Scott's fifth one.
Whoa.
I think
Right.
I will fact check that while you're talking.
Yeah. Harrison has some drama where he's
Mhm.
accused of having a recent breakup just right before the show, and coming in here and not having good intentions. His ex, Lauren, went on a podcast and pretty much slandered his name and his character. Um, I thought Shaq had a lot of energy for Harrison to say that, he was too young and he wasn't a good match for Belle. Ultimately, Belle and Harrison were decided as the least compatible couple. A lot of people gave the reason that they just were early days and, they weren't strong enough as the other couples. Did they get it right? Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I don't think because Belle kept saying like, "Oh, it's cop out," but there was no one else that should have gone home. I guess the question was compatibility and not
Mhm.
like how far along are they in.
Strong couples, right? The strength of
Right,
the relationship.
right. But I also don't know that I found them to be super compatible or more
No,
compatible than anyone else there. So
I don't
yeah,
think so. Yeah.
I think that was the right choice.
So why was Belle so defensive throughout this?
I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. She was super defensive. Like you should know. Like Well, I think she's just still mad at Scott. Apparently, she's still like posting shit on Snapchat
Yeah.
about him. So she was just mad at Scott. So she's probably like, they aren't suited.
Right.
So maybe that's what it was. That's why she was so defensive because she feels like it should have been them and not her. But she's delusional.
Yeah, she was kind of embarrassing. Throughout the whole season, we kind of wavered between how we felt about Belle, and I felt like she ended the season with me not being such a fan of her. Like there's a lot of things that I like about Belle, um, but I think her ability to see herself, yeah, that can be worked on.
Yeah. I
So we got to the reunion. The couples had a barbecue, but we make it to the
no,
reunion
it's not even the
and
reunion.
oh, I said
It's
sorry,
it's
you're
finale.
right, it wasn't a reunion. It was the live finale, but it felt like a reunion to me because Maya was asking all of the questions that we needed to know, and I was like, "This is the best finale that I've seen because we're not walking away with questions."
Right.
So one of the things that got brought up that he had to address was Harrison. She was like, "Harrison, what's up with this girl Lauren?" And the timeline shifted. So I noticed like the episode before, Harrison was like, "Oh yeah, we broke up in mid-October." And then the girl said they broke up in November. And then he was like, "Late October," you know. But regardless, I believed him.
I believe him.
Yeah. I'm like, he broke up with the girl. I think she was just maybe scorned, like, she was thinking that they were gonna get back together, but just because you left slippers at somebody's house that you used to date doesn't mean that you guys are getting back together. It just means you didn't pick up your stuff. I've had things mailed to me. Like, right. Um,
Okay.
so
Is it?
Sean acknowledged the relationship with Tommy and how he moved and taking Lucinda when Tommy was literally, like, his best friend, best mate in the villa. Um So I appreciate him acknowledging that, and even so, Maya bringing it up.
Yeah. I did also appreciate that.
So how the couples showed up, you know, everybody was dressed alike, and somebody made a comment about that except for Whitney and Yeaman. And then they tried to say, "Oh, yeah, they're matching." They weren't matching. And I was like, "This is embarrassing." So Whitney and Yeaman came in 5th place. Then we had Lucinda and Sean. And then our faves, Leanne and Scott. We got down to, Millie and Zach, 2nd place, and Sammy and Karen won 1st place. Did it go down the way that you expected? Yeah.
And I thought that um obviously I wanted our faves to win.
Yeah.
Um, but I understood. I mean, Sammy and Karen, they had like was Love Island. This is Love Island, and this was Love Island for them. And same with Zach and Millie. Um, so it makes sense. So yeah, I am okay with the way it ended, even though I wanted Scott.
So this, to me, was more reflective of what Love Island really is about versus season 7 Love Island USA, where you get to the end and you have these people who have, like, fallen for each other and you see the love between them. When they announce Sammy and Kieran as the winners and Millie, like, ran over to Sammy to hug her, I almost started crying, and I did. I know. I was like, "It's so beautiful, they should have won, it's love." It hit the spot. I was like, "This is why I watch these shows." That being said, who do you think is gonna make it past the 3-month mark and maybe, like, the year mark? Are there gonna be any couples to split?
I feel like we're gonna get hate for this, but I feel like Whitney and Yeaman aren't gonna last super long. Um, unless she relocates sooner than later.
Yeah,
Sean and Lucinda probably have already broken up. Uh,
right.
I don't expect them to last very long.
Yeah. Same for Millie and Zach in terms of, like, the long distance, you know?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Followed. some people on um, Snapchat now, where the kids are doing all posting. Um, so I follow Skyline, and that has been very enjoyable. And
Yeah.
I followed Zach since he was on season 7 of Love Island USA, and I just added Millie. And I would say Zach and Millie seem to be trucking along. I
Okay.
thought it was telling that when they were like, any plans to go to the UK? And he was like, yeah, we're leaving here. We're going to London. I'm going to stay for a couple of months. And everybody's like,
Right.
months? So I'm like, that's
Yeah.
different. Like, I feel like Damon's probably going to stay maybe a couple of weeks. Um,
Months
but
is different.
months is different. So that's
Yeah.
why I think they have a shot. Scott and Leanne, I want them to.
I want them to too. Are they gonna make it to a year?
I'm going to say yes because I'm going to speak positivity on them. I'm not going to
We
put
are. We're
negativity
gonna
in the air.
speak blessings and love over them.
Yes.
We're manifesting them being together a year from now.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Um, I think Kieran and Sammy are gonna get married. Yeah. I see the two of them being like the perfect match for each other.
Yeah. They they made a lot of sense very early on. He was very much into her from the beginning. She was very much into him from the beginning. They had that little blip with Lucinda. Um, but other than that, they've been
Yeah. And their families are invested too. So if they break up, we already have a parasocial relationship. I will be devastated. I'll need time off from work. Yeah. I'd be like, I'm taking a personal day.
I would be inconsolable.
Bereavement.
And I would also be really sad if Scott didn't break up.
Yeah.
I think, I've been watching their Snapchat and they spent the first few days home together and he went back to North Wales. Um, then I think on Monday or Tuesday he's gonna come back to London. Um, she met his sister, niece, and father.
Cute.
He met her father.
Well, they're
Yeah,
setting themselves up for success.
yeah. So I'm hopeful, and I don't know if I said this last episode or not, but talking to other people online who are like in this world and have been watching Scott. They just
Yeah.
keep saying, "I've never seen him like this before.
Yeah.
I've never seen him like
I
this
could see
before."
it with Scott. He had a just that enamored look with her.
Definitely. And I do think it took almost losing her
Yeah,
for him to get his act together. I mean, and
definitely.
he even said it. Like every time they were like, "Oh, this, that," and he was like, "Yep, I was dumb. I don't know why I did it. It was really stupid. I shouldn't have done it." It's like,
Yeah.
period.
Any final thoughts for Love Island All-Star season 3?
I think no. So we're gonna be on hiatus from any Love Island until the summer now, right?
Right?
Yeah. Which is probably okay because it is again a full-time job.
It is. I forgot about that.
So
Yeah,
I'm okay taking a break from at least Love Island Games was just weekly, but this daily for all stars was a lot.
right. Right. So now we're at our soft moment of the week. What was your soft moment of the week?
So my soft life moment was, as I alluded to earlier, um, I got to go and see Nick perform a DJ set at he was here in Atlanta. Um, but like it ended up being a group of 7 of us who went to dinner ahead of time, and then we're all aunties, and so we were like, "We don't wanna just be standing waiting on this man to get here," so we got a section. We got a bottle and we got a section
Okay.
and, split it, and then 2 other Nicolandria aunties. I don't know if you remember Mila, so I was gonna say a Nicolandria baby. So
Okay.
Mila was there, but she's, like, not even 21 yet, so she's a baby. Yeah, so, like, just being around, like, these awesome Black women and who have this shared love of reality TV and Nick and Alandria. I will say some of them watched All Stars
Okay.
and they sound like Nicolandria truthers about Scott and Leanne, and I was like,
What
I agree with you. I don't know if I see what you're seeing.
what do you mean?
Just that it's gameplay and he's using her.
He's trying to, like, recreate Nicolandria. Okay. Hilarious. Well, it's kinda like protection over our babies.
That's
Yeah,
that's um, but and I did look it up. He has been on 4 Love Island shows and then Perfect Match. So he's done 5 dating.
yeah. I feel like
So
perfect match doesn't even count.
it really doesn't. He was there for like a day, if that. Um, so it's like I understand, but I take solace in hearing people who've watched him on other seasons say, "I've never seen him like this before." Yeah. But it was just good to be, like, wrapped up in Nicolandria love and seeing our boy, being all these aunties in the corner, so proud of him. And, yeah, that was a really good moment. So, yeah, but that was my soft life moment while I was, yes, in a nightclub listening to EDM, but being in that, um, atmosphere of, like, just all of the ladies, and we're all, like, grown and, like, doing doing big shit individually. That was just, like, a really good.
We're a community. I love it. My soft life moment of the week, it really has to do with romanticizing my life. I was on vacation and every opportunity was something to, I don't know, have an Instagram moment for. So, I was like, I was having breakfast, but it was breakfast by the fire, you know? Or I was going on a walk, but I was going to walk by the bay. And I was just taking time to, like, savor every single moment and also, like, dress up for everything. So if it's, like, my hot girl walk, I had on, like, my matching gym outfit that I bought, a couple, weeks ago, and then I went to a I went to a meeting, while I was down there, and I was, like, dressed to the nines, I put the stuff on, so it was just living in the romantic moments of my life. Yeah. So that's been our episode. Maya, where can people find you?
You can find me on social media at Maya T. Prabhu. That is across social media, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads, everywhere. What about you, Autumn?
You can find me at Autumn. Autumn has an E on the end, Elizabeth on Instagram and TikTok. And you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and we are going to get better about posting on YouTube. So look there for us. Well, dating shows might get the spotlight, but we set the standard.
Follow the single standard for smart reality TV breakdown.